Today on a Frugal Homestead, I wanted to talk to you about poultry watering and what we use around here, as well as try a couple of different new methods to see if it's any better. Watering our poultry is one of the things that I've always struggled with, trying to keep the water clean, trying to keep enough water available for them, especially during the summer months when it gets hot. The other issue that I've always faced is how to keep the water thawed in the winter. Two of the things I'm going to show you. Number one, I saw another YouTube channel that showcased this. They made a 5-gallon poultry waterer using obviously a 5-gallon bucket and then a tray. They used a rubber tray. I'm going to end up using this plastic tray. I'm not so sure that the chickens like drinking from the rubber. I thought I might try just another plastic tray to see if that's any better. So that's one of the methods I'm going to show you. The next method is actually something that was sent to us. They sent us these poultry watering cups that you attach to a 5-gallon bucket or a smaller bucket if you have one. There are plenty of them out there. There are lots of different brands that manufacture these, and you can buy them and use them. I've used some of these in the past. This one's somewhat different, but they all basically have the same idea. You drill a hole in the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket. You put this into the bucket, then fill up the bucket with water. As that bucket then begins to fill up with water, it's going to allow water to come into these cups. When the cups start to fill up, there's actually a valve on it that will close as the weight of that water pushes down on the cup, and it will then stop the water from flowing into the cup. In the kit, if you end up deciding to buy it, they send you 6 poultry watering cups. They send you the little nuts to attach it to the inside. They're just plastic nuts. And then the other nice thing they send along with that is going to be the drill bit that is the correct size in order to make it so you're not making too big of a hole and you don't have to worry about water leaking out or escaping that way. Okay, so those are going to be the 2 methods that I want to talk to you about today. Like I said, on our farm right now, we have a couple of different methods. We use a lot of little buckets that I just fill up with water. Once again, big issues with those is that you're constantly having to refill them. The chickens are getting dirt and other things inside of them. So it's a little bit more difficult, especially where we live, where it's always hot. It dries out quickly. It gets dirty. It gets stinky. So want to come up with a better way that way. And then the other product that we use is a 1-gallon watering fountain. Once again, it's only 1 gallon, so obviously they go through it fairly quickly, especially if you have a lot of poultry in a smaller area. They do go through it pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and give this a try, see how it goes. I'm going to show you how to do both of these in today's video. All right, so what you're going to want to do is get a tape measure, get your bucket. I already have drilled the first hole. I ended up going about 1.5 inches up. I wish now looking at it that it would have been 2 inches, but I went 1.5 inches up. Drill your first hole. Then from there, I ended up going 6.5 inches, and marked it at the next one, which is where we're at here. And then you're going to want to mark up 2 inches again, and then go ahead and drill them. So each of them you're going to end up drilling. Drill each of them through. If you do it that method, so 6.5 inches in between each of them, you'll end up fitting 5 waterers on the bucket. The next thing you're going to do is end up attaching your waterers. You can twist them in, or you should just be able to push them in. Make sure that they do have their gasket on them before you end up putting it on there. Otherwise, you're just going to leak the water out. Once you've got that in there, you're going to, on the inside, just screw on the nut that comes with it. And you'll do that 5 times, obviously, or 6 if you end up putting all 6 of them on there. So then you're going to want to make it fairly tight and then straighten it just a little bit. So then you'll end up having that nut in the bottom with the first waterer. So then we'll do that on the remaining. Okay, so once you've got it done, that's what that bucket will end up looking like. You'll have them all on there, then on the inside as well. So that's what it'll look like. I'd clean it out one more time before you fill it up. And then the other thing you're probably going to want to consider doing is having a base to put it on. So now we're going to go ahead and make the 5-gallon water fountain. So I've already cleaned out my bucket. The nice thing about this bucket is it actually does have a little spout in it. So you can pull this out and then twist the cap off. That's going to make it nice when I go to fill it up with water. I don't have to take the lid off every single time, which can become kind of frustrating, especially with how hard this lid is to get off. So if you can find one with a spout like this, I would suggest using that. I mean, that's what I would go with. Otherwise, you're going to end up having to pull the lid off every time. So from there, put the bucket inside of your dish, and then you're going to want to mark on it where you want to put the holes. So one thing that I did initially was go around the bucket, and I just placed my Sharpie right on the top of the bucket, and I put a dot where the top of it is. There's also a lip on the inside here. I want to obviously make it above that, but what you got to keep in mind is your water is going to come up to whatever level you drill your hole, and that's where it's going to end up staying. So you don't want it to be all the way at the top necessarily, but you don't want it to be too far down that the chickens can't get to it. So you don't want to put it somewhere in between that and obviously where the lip on that is, so that it's not too low. And then what we'll end up doing is using the drill bit that I got with the watering cups just to fill it up. So that's where we'll go and drill them out. So like I mentioned, you can always move the hole up if you need to, but you can never move it down. So it's better to start a little bit lower than too high. I ended up filling up the bucket with water and pushing this in there just to see where it would go. And actually, if it's at that lip, it's going to be plenty high enough for the chickens to actually get their water. So I'm just going to go probably just a little bit above the lip just to make it just about right. So that's what I ended up deciding to do after testing it. So we'll give it a go. Once again, just above the lip. Clean it out a little bit. And for now, I'm actually just going to do the 2 holes, one on either side. Okay, got both our holes in there. Let's see how it works. Fill it about halfway up, maybe a little bit less. Then get your bucket, fill up your 5-gallon bucket. Okay, when it starts flowing out the end there, snap the lid back on. And then if you did end up making the 2 holes like I did, just try to find where they're at and put them as much on the level side as you can. All right, so here we are out at the coops. It's been several weeks since I actually built both of the watering fountains for the chickens, and they've both worked fairly well. I have learned several things that I want to share with you as I demonstrate. Number one, here in southern Idaho, it is starting to become winter. Cooler temperatures, I guess is what I should say. Can't really tell that right now. I'm still wearing a t-shirt, but I'll tell you what, at nighttime it is freezing. So I did invest in a couple of different heat plates. This thing has been amazing, especially for the 5-gallon water bucket with the tray that I made. This is probably about an 11-inch disc, plugs right in, heats up, keeps the water inside the dish from freezing. So that's number one. Make sure if you are in a colder climate area that you do end up purchasing something similar to that. That way you don't have to worry about it freezing. I did originally think about just putting like a de-icer thing directly into the bucket, but then I would have had to make another hole. And I just decided that that might not be the best option. So I tried this, thought it would work out, and it's been amazing so far. Okay, so the next thing that I've learned is before you actually end up putting your bucket inside there with the water inside the bucket, fill up your tray at least halfway with water. Otherwise, you're just going to waste all that water in the bucket that you just put in there. So that's another big thing. And then finally, the one thing that I wish I would have done with this 5-gallon bucket is actually not made the hole as high as I did and actually only put 1 hole in. The problem that I've been running into with this idea is that with the hole being so high, if this is not level, if your base is not level completely, you're going to end up spilling water out and it's never going to seal up. So the pressure of the water on the bucket is just going to continue to have it flow over the edge. I did create another one that I put in one of the other coops where the hole was actually a little bit lower. I'll zoom in on that. Because of that, I've had to try to keep this level as much as possible. I may end up even having to make a brand new bucket because of that. So far, I've been able to keep it fairly level, so I haven't had that problem with this watering system. The most recent one that I made, I put that hole a little bit closer to the lid to keep it so that that water level would actually be lower inside of the tray. That way it makes it so that it doesn't have the opportunity to flow out as much as the other buckets. I also only put one hole in there. That way it's always at the same level. I don't have to worry if one hole's higher than the other. You can tell that the water is lower than it was in the other ones. Keeps it lower, makes it so you don't have to worry about it flowing over the edge. Last thing that I think of with this one is if you can put something on top of the bucket to keep the chickens from jumping up there, because they like to jump up there and then hang their butts over the edge. And you know what happens when they hang their butts over the edge. Now for the other bucket. So in the beginning of the video, we made this bucket with the cups on it that were sent to us. I actually discontinued using it fairly quickly after I made it. It worked out well for the first week or two, but then shortly after I noticed that the water was always leaking out no matter what I did. I made sure it was on a level surface. I did everything I could to prevent it. Even put it on a stand. It didn't end up working out. And so after a while, I ended up looking into it to try to figure out why. And what had happened is where I drilled the hole, it actually ended up developing a crack. I'm not going to say that my experience is going to be everybody's experience. But once again, for the most part, don't waste your money on these. I think they're garbage. If you can figure out a better way to set them up than this, maybe run them through a PVC pipe or something of that nature. Putting them on buckets just doesn't seem to work. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions, suggestions, obviously please leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll see you on the next one.